Hi guys, how are you?
Hi.
Good. Nice to
Good,
see you.
thanks. Yeah, nice
Yeah.
to see you.
Thanks. So this show it's very cute, but it's also very much a two-hander in that rarely we see more than two characters interacting that we know for that matter. And so for you guys, what is appealing to you when you are like investing in something and trying to bring that to life? Is it that it's so limited and contained, or just kind of the creativity behind that?
Um,
Interesting.
we should probably start with Paul because he worked with the writers first. And
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good observation. I mean, sometimes after a while of filming this, it's just so in plain sight you forget. Actually, you're right. It is so much carried by two-handers. It started as it was written by Natalie Walter and Steve Burge, who had worked together in radio, and they came up with this idea based on their own experience of being insomniacs and having regular nighttime chats, and a sort of friendship evolved in that mold, really, because they were always talking remotely, and it wasn't a romance, but it was a friendship, and that was the starting point. And I think it is interesting looking at that because it allows you to be quite forensic about portraying the nature of the dynamic, their dynamic and their friendship. It's got all the detail there. It's hinted at the backstory. You don't actually reveal that, but I think it's something, giving them the space that nighttime gives you without the formality of the daytime as well. That was quite interesting to explore. Yeah.
Paul first brought that script, and what was really stood out to me was that, it's, as we called it, an almost romantic comedy, but it then set up all these obstacles. So it said, we're going to do this thing, but they're never going to meet each other. It's going to be at night. He can't leave his flat. She's in a relationship. She's got a kid already. Let's now let's see if they can have a relationship.
Yeah.
So it's to sort of set itself all those challenges, I thought was really original. Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
I
Yeah,
think
and
there's
it
also something about the two-hander factor. I mean, clearly it's not a two-hander, but your attention is drawn to the two of them
mhm.
so much, and it is a gift for really brilliant performers. And obviously, we knew that was going to be a big casting challenge. It throws a spotlight on the chemistry between those two people so acutely, and yet it does mean you can follow the nuances of, in this show particularly, everything that's unsaid between the two of them, and you get the time to do that because you're so focused on those two characters.
Mm.
Yeah. And it is also, was there ever a moment for any of you guys or all of you guys where you were afraid of like the FaceTime aspect of it? Because it is really like it could be limiting, and it's not on this show, but
Mm.
it could be limiting to just have it be the phone or the laptop or whatever
Mm.
it is in that scene.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely that was definitely a challenge, and I think all credit to John Addis, the director, for finding ways of making it flow without you being rooted in a sort of static way in front of your screens. And I mean, that's a real art, actually. And I think sometimes you forget they're actually talking on the phone. I mean, and hopefully that's part of the storytelling as well, that they're never just talking for talking's sake. There's storylines unfolding in their different worlds as well at the same time. So I think you're never just rooted to the spot like we are on this call. There is always something going on. Not that I'm not enjoying it. It's great.
No, but also the use of flashbacks in the show. I think
Yeah.
we talked about that a lot, to sort of
Yeah.
sometimes just go, we're flashing back and it's
Yeah.
daytime,
Yeah.
so we can have
Yeah.
a little bit of
Get a
daylight.
break. Get a break.
Yeah, get a break from that as well. So that
I
was
think
a
there's also
conscious decision.
there's
Sorry,
something
Arabella, you
about,
go.
I was just going to say, there is something about, I think we knew from the beginning, and Nat Walter, who one of the writers, was very clear about this, that she felt from the beginning that this style of talking to each other is just a fact of life now. It reflects the reality of the additional ways in which we communicate with our loved ones all of us all over the world of whatever age. And it also enables us to do something else while we're having that conversation. And from a storytelling point of view, that's that's a great opportunity, because it means Danny's got a story happening, Lisa's got a story happening, and we've got a conversation. So therefore there is an awful lot of opportunity for a lot of other things to be going on, which also helps, as Paul says, that it helps us to forget that actually the two of these two characters are not in the same room, and that there is some sort of method by which they are magically communicating, but hopefully you can't see it too often.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's cool because like you pointed that out, and it's like my niece, whenever she calls me, she's 3, if she doesn't see me, she's like, I can't see you, because she's used to talking to me on FaceTime, and I'm like, this is a phone call, you're not going to see me. But this show does have like certain kind of like the level of insanity that some of these episodes end up going to is very fun, because it's like in that first episode especially, you think like, oh, it's kind of cute, she's like late night and a thing, and then like the reveal at the end of that episode is like, oh, that is way not where I thought this was gonna go. For you guys, for each of you, what is your favorite kind of outrageous moment that happened within this season that you guys just were like, that's weird, but I love it?
My favorite's I think it's the episode where he has to get the taxi, because it's you see how much it costs him to go. He's been really gallant and trying to save, and I just no, I really love that taxi. He has to make him, it's just, that should be so straightforward, and yet it's anything but. And so I would say that's one of my favorite moments.
I think mine is that, but also and other aspects of that episode, but also in the camping episode, where we meet other characters who come from, it's a great episode for guest characters at 5, and there is a kind of quality to what Lisa ends up getting embroiled in, which when you stand back from it, this is absolutely crazy behavior, but it makes complete sense because of the guest characters from whom it comes. And the same goes for what's going on for Danny with his builder that he can't get rid of in that same episode. So there's a kind of truth, a character truth about that, and yet it goes to extreme heights.
I mean, it's packed with great moments like that, and I personally, I love the builder who's kind of emotionally vulnerable, asking for advice and outstaying his welcome. I mean, I think that's just lovely and surprising, actually. So yeah, but lots of moments. I mean, how often do you get to film some cows in a forest in the middle of the night?
At 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. To talk about surreal moments, that was kind of great to do. Yeah.
I love like there's so many things about the show, like the poor pizza guy just trying to deliver pizza through a window, and then the next episode it's revealed he has a window that you could just open like this. I was like, why didn't you just have him go to that window? Why did you make him do this?
You've got a really good eye for
that's a really good spot.
You could have just opened that window and turned it
totally.
instead of handing slice.
Someone came in and mended it.
You had someone put a window into his door. For one last quick question, you mentioned the casting. I was a Misfits kid in college. Like, I love Antonio Thomas, but like with the specifics of both Danny and Lisa, for you guys, what was it about those characters in particular that you knew that audiences would connect with in a story like this? Because they are so kind of, if we don't connect with them, then the story isn't really there.
Yeah,
that's a really good question. I think from I think there is we drop into Lisa's life at a particular point in her life. So here's a woman who aspires to a creative career, which quite possibly she was set off on already, and then had a child, and 5 years, but her life.
Oh wait, sorry,
Arabella, you're breaking up a bit.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
maybe over.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, Paul and Phil, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, us three are moving on mine.
Oh,
Oh, now
there we
she's
go.
moving.
Oh, there,
Is that
Arabella,
better?
she's
sorry,
back.
can
Is
I
that
just-
better?
yeah, we hate to ask you to start over that question, but
That's
if you
fine.
wouldn't mind,
That's absolutely no problem. If you can hear me now, I will do it very succinct. We were just talking about the fact that we've kind of dropped into Lisa's life at a particular stage in her life, and she is, you know, she's an aspiring book illustrator. She has potentially has a creative career in front of her, and yet she suddenly, you know, she had an unexpected child, and the last 5 years have been entirely dedicated to the right thing for that child. And I think there is, and she is in a relationship with somebody who has a lot of positives, and yet she's at a stage where she's holding herself back from allowing herself to make choices that might put herself first. And I think there's something that is relatable about that, and there's something also that Antonia just brings, that the vulnerability of that, and how sympathetic she can be, that character. Antonia just does that brilliantly, effortlessly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're flawed, obviously, but hopefully, and also likable because of that, actually, characters, and they are trying to do their best, you know, in a way, and as Arabella said, they're sort of, I think we spend, I think they bring different energies with them as well, you know. I think they're very different characters, and you would think, oh, it's interesting what kind of unites them, and it could be a number of things. It could be loneliness in a way, because they're both, you know, literally he's alone, and in her relationship you could argue that she feels lonely. I think those are things people can identify with, but it's always leavened, hopefully, by comedy and their wit and the funniness of what they talk about, and the escapes, of course, that she gets into, the quests. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for talking with me today. I can't wait for people to get to see the show.
Great.
Right.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Thank you,
Thank
Rachel.
you.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Rachel.
Have a great one.